Ansel Voss rejected Clara Wren in front of St. Agnes Chapel before the stage dust had settled. He had paid her fare west, and now he told her she could repay it in his kitchen or be stranded before nightfall. Mrs. Peel, the widow who arranged the match, lowered her eyes and let him call Clara a debt. Then Boone Rusk, a rancher who had kept his own house empty for 11 months, stepped off the road and offered Clara a door she could lock against him. Before the next sunset, that offer would put Clara's freedom and Boone's winter cattle contract in the same yard. Clara was 29 or near it, with dark blonde hair pinned low, tired green eyes, and a brown traveling dress dusty at the hem. She stood under the chapel bell rope with a carpet bag at her feet and a folded paper crushed in one gloved hand, trying not to cry in front of Ansel Voss. Ansel owned the feed stable and liked people to remember it. He stood beside Mrs. Peel, the chapel widow who handled mail-order bride letters for a fee. "I asked for a useful wife if she suited," Ansel said. "I did not promise marriage to a woman who arrives with no dowry and no kin to answer for her." Clara looked down the road where the stage had vanished. Mrs. Peel held her shawl tight and said nothing. Clara whispered, "I have nowhere left to go." Boone heard it plain. He did not know what made him answer. Maybe the empty house had been waiting for a voice brave enough to tell the truth. "Funny," he said, quiet but clear. "My house is empty." All three turned toward him. Ansel laughed first. "That's so, Rusk, you taking in brides now." Boone kept his eyes on the woman, not Ansel. "My name is Boone Rusk. I have a house at Rusk Bend. It is empty. You can sleep there tonight with the door locked from inside. I will sleep in the bunkhouse." Clara stared as if kindness were another language, and she had learned only the dangerous words. "I am Clara Wren," she said. "Miss Wren." Ansel stepped between them. "She owes me fare. I paid for her passage from Kansas City." Clara lifted the folded paper. "The agency said marriage." "The agency said possibility," Ansel snapped. "If you will not be my wife, you can work off the fare in my kitchen." Boone looked at Mrs. Peel. "Is that what the letter said?" The widow's mouth trembled, but she tucked both hands under her shawl. "I only pass messages." Clara's face changed then, not surprise. A tired understanding, as if every door in her life had closed the same way. Boone picked up her carpet bag. Ansel caught the handle. "You carry that and you take her debt with it." Boone's voice stayed level. "A bag is not a debt. You cannot shelter a woman you just met without people talking." "They already are." For the first time, Clara looked straight at Boone. He saw fear there, but not weakness. Fear had brought her to the edge. Pride kept her standing on it. "If I go with you," she said, "I will not be traded from one man's claim to another." "No. You will not call me ungrateful if I leave at daylight." Boone felt the word leave press against old grief, but he nodded. "No." "And the door? Yours to close." Clara took the carpetbag from Boone herself before either man could make her look carried. Then she walked beside him out of the chapel yard. Ansel called after them. "A woman with nowhere to go cannot afford to be proud." Clara did not turn. Boone did. "She can afford to be safe." Rusk Bend lay a mile from the chapel road, tucked below a low ridge where pinon and cedar broke the wind. The bunkhouse lamp was already burning when Boone led Clara through the yard. Two hired men, Milo Trent and Abel Cross, paused at the corral fence. Their eyes went from Clara's dusty dress to Boone's face, and then to the dark main house. Boone knew what they were thinking. Everyone in the valley knew he had not used the house since his sister Elise died there with fever in her lungs and apology on her lips. She had come west to keep house for him after her husband died. Boone had promised her a home. In the end, all he had given her was a clean bed and a grave behind the cottonwood. He unlocked the front door, but he did not step in first. He put the key on the porch rail. "That is the only front door key," he said. "There is a kitchen latch, too. I will show you from out here if you like." Clara looked at the key, then at him. "You are not coming in." "Not unless you ask." "It is your house." "Tonight it is the roof I offered. That does not make it my right to crowd you." Milo shifted at the fence. Boone heard him but did not look away from Clara. She picked up the key slowly. Her gloves were worn through at 2 fingertips. "Where will you sleep?" "Bunkhouse." "Your men will wonder. They can wonder under their own blankets." That almost made her smile. Not quite, but almost. Boone showed her the kitchen latch from the porch by pushing the door open with 2 fingers and pointing from outside. The kitchen smelled faintly of dust, soap, and cold ashes. Clara stepped in with her bag, then turned back. "Mr. Rusk." "Boone is fine if you want it." She held the key against her skirt. "Why is it empty?" He could have lied. A smaller truth might have served. "My sister died here last winter," he said. "I kept thinking I would move back when the house stopped sounding like I failed her." Clara's face softened, and that was dangerous. Pity could enter a room quietly and rearrange everything. "I am sorry," she said. "So am I." The words stood between them, plain and unadorned. Boone stepped back. "There is flour in the bin, coffee in the blue pot, and clean water by the stove. If you want me gone from the porch, say so." She looked around the dark house, then she looked at the road. "Stay until I light the lamp," she said. He stayed outside while she struck a match. Warm light filled the kitchen. It touched her face and made the tiredness there harder to bear. When the lamp was steady, Clara closed the door. Boone heard the latch fall. He stood in the yard a moment longer than he should have, listening to the house hold a living sound. Subscribe if stories about safety chosen freely matter to you. In the morning, Boone woke before the hands and found smoke rising from the main house chimney. For one stunned second, he thought of Elise. Then the kitchen door opened, and Clara stepped onto the porch with the blue coffee pot in one hand. "I made too much," she said. Boone stopped at the bottom step. "May I come to the porch?" "The porch is yours." "The kitchen." She looked over her shoulder, then back at him. "Not yet." "Fair." She poured coffee into a tin cup and set it on the rail. He took it only after she moved her hand away. It was good coffee. Strong, a little bitter, boiled by someone who had learned to make poor grounds work hard. "There is bacon in the smokehouse," he said. "You can use it." "I will pay for what I eat." "Then I will pay for any cooking you choose to do." Her eyes narrowed, not in anger exactly, in study. "Men have used pay to make a cage before." Boone accepted that like weather. "Then we will write it plain. Work if you choose, wages each evening, stage money stays in your pocket." "I have $3.08. Stage to Las Vegas is 6. "I know." He wanted to say he would make up the rest. He did not. Too quick a rescue could look like a rope if a woman had been tied often enough. "Milo rides for supplies today," he said. "If you want a price from the stage office, he can ask." "And if I ask him not to?" "He will not." She took that in. Milo returned before noon with the salt and a warning. "Voss told the stable crowd Boone stole his bride. Says Coulter's buyer will hear it before tomorrow's supper." Clara's fingers closed around the $3.08 in her pocket. "Then, I have until tomorrow to prove my choices belong to me." Behind them, Abel came from the barn and stopped when he saw Boone standing below his own porch like a guest. Boone could feel the question in him. "Miss Wren made coffee," Boone said. "If she sells you a cup, pay her." Abel removed his hat. "Morning, ma'am." Clara's mouth moved. This time the almost smile arrived. "Morning." It was a small thing, a cup of coffee sold from an empty house. But Boone saw the change it made in her shoulders, not shelter only, standing. By noon, Clara had swept the kitchen, opened curtains that had not moved in months, and set Elise's cracked blue bowl on the table for coins. Boone saw it through the door because Clara had left the top half open and the bottom latched. She had drawn the line herself, open enough for trade, closed enough for safety. He admired her for that more than he should have after half a day. That was the first danger. The house changed faster than Boone expected. Not in large ways. Clara did not move furniture or claim shelves. She opened the curtains, kept the half door latched, and set Elise's cracked blue bowl on the table for coins. She found a split in the pantry floor and asked for a hammer, then fixed it herself while Boone stood in the yard pretending not to listen. By mid-afternoon, the bowl held $1.12. Ansel still claimed 6. She had made a list of what the house lacked. Soap, she called through the half door. Lamp oil, salt, 2 broom straws, coffee if you mean to keep drinking mine. Boone leaned on the porch post. That sounds like a household account. It is a work account. I stand corrected. She glanced up, saw he meant it, and looked down before the warmth in her face could become too visible. Milo came by with a bucket and stopped when he saw Boone waiting outside his own kitchen again. Clara held up the hammer from inside, and Milo wisely kept walking. When he left, Clara's smile faded into thought. "Your men like you," she said. "Most days. They are watching how you treat me." "Yes. If you grow tired of being careful, they will learn that too. And Voss is teaching them what happens to anyone who takes my side," Clara said. "Tomorrow they choose which lesson they believe." Boone felt the truth of it. He had thought safety was a private matter between a man and a woman. Clara understood faster than he did that a whole ranch learned from the shape of a door. "Then I will be careful in daylight," he said, "not only when it is easy." She set the hammer on the sill, handle toward him. "That may be the first pretty promise I believe." It stayed with him longer than praise should have. Ansel himself rode in before supper. Ansel Voss came with 2 horses and Mrs. Peel in the wagon seat, her face gray with worry. He did not tie at the hitching post. He stopped in the middle of Boone's yard as if the ground belonged to anyone with a louder voice. "Clara," he called, "bring your bag." Clara stepped onto the porch with her sleeves rolled and flour on one wrist. Boone was mending a trace beside the barn. He rose, but she spoke before he did. "No." Ansel smiled. "That house has made you bold." "No, sleep did." Milo choked on a laugh and turned it into a cough. Ansel's eyes flicked to him. "Careful, Trent. Rusk needs the winter beef contract and my stable feeds Coulter's buyer team." There it was, pressure in a clean coat. Boone walked over. "Say what you came to say." Ansel held up a letter. "Mrs. Peel found the agency copy. It says I paid fair for Clara Wren to come west as a prospective wife and useful household woman. If the marriage does not proceed, she owes repayment or service." Clara went still. Mrs. Peel whispered, "It says repayment may be arranged. It does not say service." Ansel turned on her. "It says useful household woman." "It says if agreeable." The widow's correction was small and late, but it was the first brick out of Ansel's wall. Ansel folded the letter too sharply. The paper split along the crease. For 1 second he stared at the tear, then he raised Coulter's name as if business could repair what the words no longer proved. Clara came down one porch step. "You had that copy last night." Mrs. Peel's eyes filled. "Yes." "And you let him call me Det." "I was afraid he would stop sending agency letters through the chapel." Fear explained it. It did not clean it. Ansel folded the paper. "Enough. Clara can cook at my stable until the fare is cleared, or Boone can pay me $6 and make the whole valley know what kind of bargain he bought." Boone saw Clara flinch at bought. He stepped beside her, not in front. "No woman is being bought on my place." "Then lose Coulter's supper." Ansel's smile sharpened. "His buyer reaches here tomorrow night. Feed stable provides his team grain. I can tell him Rusk Bend is too tangled in woman trouble to host a cattle deal." That contract would carry Boone through winter. Without it, he would sell half his herd low before snow. Clara knew enough to see the cost. She looked at Boone with apology already forming. He hated that most. "Mr. Voss," she said, "if I owe fair, I will pay fair. I will not pay with myself." Boone's heart turned hard and warm at the same time. "You heard her," he said. Ansel pointed at the house. "She will not earn $6 hiding behind your latch." Clara lifted her chin. "Then I will earn it where I choose." "Tomorrow," Boone said, "she can cook Coulter's supper if she wants wages, paid by me, not you." Ansel laughed. "You would risk the contract over a stray bride." Boone felt the old empty house behind him. He thought of Elise asking if she was a burden 3 days before she died. He thought of Clara whispering in the chapel yard, certain no door remained. "I would risk it over the word stray," he said. Ansel's face darkened. He pulled the wagon around so sharply the wheels cut the yard dust. Mrs. Peel looked back once. Clara did not wave. That evening, Boone paid Clara 75 cents for coffee, biscuits, and supper she chose to make for the hands. He laid the coins on the porch table and stepped back. "Too much," she said. "Milo ate 6 biscuits. Milo is hollow. He pays extra for the privilege." This time her smile came and stayed long enough to hurt him. They sat on opposite sides of the porch steps while the house cooled behind them. Clara counted her coins into Elise's blue bowl, then took them back out and put them in her skirt pocket. She rubbed flour from her wrist. "When my father died, my aunt said I could stay if I made myself useful. I cooked, sewed, kept accounts, nursed her boys. Then her oldest married and his wife wanted my room. Suddenly I was called proud for expecting a bed. The agency letter looked like a door. I should have known doors can close behind you." Boone kept his hands around his coffee cup so he would not reach for hers. "This one should not." She looked at him then, not like a rescued woman, like a woman deciding whether his words could bear weight. "You loved your sister," she said. "Yes. And you think an empty house is a punishment you owe her." That found him too cleanly. He looked away first. "I think I promised her a home and gave her a sickbed." "Fever did that. My roof held it. A roof cannot stop death." "No, but a man can still hate the rafters." Clara was quiet for a long moment. "I was not looking for a husband when I came west," she said. "Not first. I was looking for a place where my work did not vanish into someone else's name." "Then that is what we call it. Work wages your name." "Tomorrow I cook the buyer's supper," Clara said. "I earn my fare in front of Ansel. If he destroys your contract because I refuse him, that is his doing, not the price of my freedom." The next day tested every word Boone had spoken. Coulter's buyer arrived an hour before sundown with 2 drovers, a ledger man, and an appetite big enough to affect the price of beef. Ansel came with them, smiling like trouble dressed for church. Clara had spent the afternoon cooking beans, biscuits, fried apples, and beef gravy. She worked with the bottom door latched until she chose to open it. Boone did not cross the threshold. He carried water to the porch. Milo split wood. Abel fetched plates from the shelf only after Clara handed them down. Ansel watched all of it. "Pretty arrangement," he said. "Rusk stands outside his own house while she plays mistress of it." Clara set a pan on the table. "I am paid cook tonight." "Paid by a man trying to keep you." Boone turned from the water bucket. "Careful." Ansel smiled at the buyer, Mr. Harlan Coulter, a heavy man with a silver watch chain. "You see what I mean? Woman trouble. A man with a cattle deal should not let a mail-order bride run his supper." Coulter looked annoyed more than scandalized. "I came for beef, Voss." "And feed," Ansel said. "My stable can refuse your return grain if I choose." That got Coulter's attention. Ansel pointed toward Clara's carpetbag, which sat inside the front room by the wall. "Milo, hitch that bag to my wagon. The woman comes with me after supper. Let her work where her fare is owed." The yard went silent. Milo did not move. Ansel's face hardened. "You want feed credit this winter, Trent." Milo looked at Boone. Boone knew what the man risked. Milo had a wife with a cough in a rented room behind the blacksmith shop. Feed credit mattered to every working man who kept a horse. Clara untied her apron. "No," Boone said softly. "You do not have to answer him." "I do," Clara said. She folded the apron and laid it on the porch rail. Then she went inside, picked up her carpetbag, and came back with the brass key in one hand and her coins in the other. Ansel's smile returned. Good sense at last. Clara walked past him to the front gate. Boone felt the ground drop under him. He had known she might leave. He had promised himself he would not stop her. Knowing a thing did not make it easy when it stood up and walked away. She turned at the gate, facing Boone, Ansel, Coulter, and the hired men. "I have enough money to reach the chapel road," she said. Not enough for Las Vegas yet, but enough to leave this yard if the house has become a claim. Ansel spread his hands toward Coulter. You see, she admits dependence. No, Clara said, I am testing freedom. She held out the key toward Boone. He wanted to close his hand around it and around every future it might open. Instead, he stepped back. Keep it until you decide, he said. Her eyes shone, and if I do not come back. His throat tightened. Then I will be grateful you left by your own feet. No one spoke. The ledger man's pencil stopped. Milo looked at the key in Clara's hand, then at Boone's empty hands. Abel folded his arms before Ansel had given his next order. Clara put the key back in her pocket. Ansel's face flushed. Enough theater, Abel get her bag. Abel crossed his arms. No. Ansel stared at him. Milo removed his hat. I will not hitch a woman's bag to any wagon she did not choose. Coulter's ledger man shifted. The drovers looked at one another. One drover set down his plate. The other stepped away from Ansel's wagon. No one laughed now, and no one looked to Ansel for permission. Ansel made his last play. He strode to the gate and grabbed for Clara's carpet bag. Clara jerked it back, but Boone was already moving. He stopped 2 steps away, close enough to act, far enough to let her stand. Take your hand off her property, Boone said. Property, Ansel spat. She owes me. Clara's voice cut across his. I owe $6 fare, I do not owe obedience. Coulter snapped his watch shut. That is plain enough. Ansel turned on him. Stay out of chapel business. You dragged it into my supper. Boone looked at Coulter. If buying my beef requires letting him take her, ride hungry. The words cost him. Everyone heard the cost. Winter money, cattle price, feed grain, reputation. He put all of it down in front of Clara and did not ask her to repay it with herself. Coulter studied him, then Clara, then the untouched supper cooling on the table. I buy cattle from men who mean what they say, Coulter said. Voss, your stable can keep its grain. I will feed my team at Herrera's. Coulter's ledger man drew one hard line through Voss feed stable and wrote Herrera's beneath it. The scratch of the pencil carried across the quiet yard. Ansel watched the sail leave him in ink. Ansel went white around the mouth. Herrera's is 10 miles out. Then my horses get a walk. Milo stepped to the wagon team and unlooped the lead strap Ansel had tied to Boone's hitching rail. Ansel lunged for it. That team is under my order. Not in this yard, Milo said. Abel took the other horse by the bridle and let it clear. Ansel looked from one man to another, and Boone saw the moment he understood. He had come with fair debt, feed credit, a buyer's supper, and the old belief that a woman with no kin could be made useful by force. One by one, those tools had been taken from his hands. Mrs. Peel came into the yard then, breathless from walking. She must have followed late from the chapel road, drawn by fear or conscience. I took $2 to pass Clara's name, Mrs. Peel said before anyone asked. I had the full copy, and I let Ansel call consent a debt because I wanted the chapel commission. I brought the money back with me. Write that down, Mr. Coulter. The ledger man opened to a clean page. Ansel cursed under his breath. Mrs. Peel faced Clara. I have no right to handle bride letters now. She held out $2 silver. Clara did not take them at once. You should give those to the next woman who arrives with no one waiting honest, Clara said. Mrs. Peel bowed her head. I will, and I will write that no bride letter passes through my hands without the woman keeping her copy. Clara looked at the open ledger page. Write it, sign it, and send it. That is the repair. It was not forgiveness. It was a cost turned into repair. Ansel climbed into his wagon alone. No one loaded Clara's bag. No one offered him supper. Coulter's drovers walked his team toward the road to Herrera's, leaving Ansel without even the small power of feeding them. Before he drove off, Ansel pointed at Clara. You will regret choosing an empty house. Clara stood with the key in her pocket and her bag in her hand. I have regretted full houses too, she said. Ansel had no answer to that. He drove away with dust rising behind him and nothing of hers in his wagon. Boone did not go to Clara. That was the hardest thing he did all night. The ledger man tore out the clean page and set it on the porch rail. Mrs. Peel wrote slowly, sounding out each sentence before she put it down. When she finished, she signed her name, then pushed the paper toward Clara. Clara did not take it as a trophy. She folded it and handed it back. "Send it," she said. "That is the repair." Mrs. Peel bowed her head. "I will." Only then did Clara let the matter rest. The men ate late. Coulter bought 30 head at a fair price and added 5 because, as he put it, a ranch that can risk supper over a woman's freedom can likely keep cattle honest too. Clara was paid a full $1.50 for the meal. She took the money in front of everyone and put it with her own. Then she picked up her carpet bag again. Boone stood by the porch steps. "The road is dark," he said. It was the closest he came to asking her not to leave. "I know. Milo can ride behind at a distance if you want witness." "No, if I leave, I need to feel my own feet under me." He nodded. Clara walked through the gate. Every man in the yard watched Boone not follow. She went as far as the first bend, where the chapel road dipped behind cedar. Boone could still see the pale shape of her bag. He could still call. He could still make some argument about cold, safety, coyotes, stage hours, anything that sounded like care and acted like a chain. He did not. He sat on the porch step of the house. He had not dared live in and waited outside it. Time moved slowly. The kitchen lamp burned behind him because Clara had lit it before supper. It put his shadow across the yard, long and lonely. Milo came near once. "Boss." "Leave me be." "Yes, sir." The night settled. A coyote called from the ridge. Boone looked at the cottonwood where Elise was buried. "I opened it," he whispered. "I do not know if that is enough." The answer came as footsteps on the road. Clara appeared at the bend with her carpetbag still in hand. Boone stood, but he stayed at the bottom of the steps. She came through the gate, crossed the yard, and stopped in front of him. "I reached the road," she said. "I saw. No one stopped me. No. No one followed. No." Her mouth trembled. That should not feel like a miracle. "But it does." "Yes." She took the brass key from her pocket. For a moment, Boone thought she meant to hand it back. Instead, she climbed the steps, unlocked the front door herself, and pushed it open. Warm lamplight spilled over the porch boards. Clara set her carpetbag inside, not against the wall like someone ready to flee, but beside the kitchen table. Then she took 2 cups from the shelf and placed them on the table, one on each side. Only then did she look back. "Boone Rusk," she said, "you may come into your kitchen if you are willing to be a guest tonight." His chest hurt with the force of not moving too fast. "I am willing." He stepped inside. The house did not sound empty. It sounded careful, new, frightened in places, but not empty. Clara poured coffee, though it was late. They sat across from each other with the door still open to the porch and the key beside her hand. "I cannot promise I will stay forever," she said. "I am not asking forever tonight. I cannot promise I am ready to be anyone's wife. I am not asking that either." "What are you asking?" Boone looked around the kitchen. Elise's curtains, Clara's blue coin bowl, the clean table, the open door. A house could hold grief and still make room. He had not believed that until Clara walked out and came back by choice. "Permission to court you when you are ready," he said, "and permission to earn another cup of coffee tomorrow." Clara smiled then, full and tired and real. "You may ask for coffee," she said. "Courtship will require better boots." He looked down at his scuffed pair. "I can work on that." "And Boone?" "Yes." When I whispered I had nowhere left to go, I thought that was the end of me. He held very still. She touched the key with one finger. It was not the empty house that saved me. It was the man who let me leave it. Boone could not speak for a moment. Clara slid the second cup toward him. Subscribe for more clean, romantic Wild West stories where rejected brides, lonely ranchers, and brave frontier women find home by choice. At St. Agnes, Ansel had called Clara a woman with nowhere to go. Now her stage money remained in her pocket, the brass key rested beside her hand, and the front door stood open to the road. Boone waited across from her beside the second cup. She had not been taken in. She had chosen to come back.